Guess if I'm gonna be doing any kind of Elmer Keith video, I should have my 6-shooter on. Hold up, that ain't the right 6-shooter. That's more like it. Got this knife a while back. It's made in the 1960s. It was a design made by Gil Hibben, and he made this knife for Elmer Keith. Some sources say that he made the handle extra thick because Elmer Keith had a malformed hand. I think at one point I'd read that he had been severely burned all over his body in an accident, and he had a broken hand as well. And nobody would fix his deformed hand. His dad ended up re-breaking his hand and putting it in this crazy cast for like 2 years, and he ended up getting the dexterity back in his hand, but it was still kind of hard to grip things. So I've seen some people say that's why this handle is so thick. And when Elmer Keith got his hands on it, he said this was a husky knife. So it's marketed as Elmer Keith Skinner. So back in the day, if you got a premium subscription to Guns and Ammo magazine, they would give you one of these knives as a promotional item. I'd say the blade's roughly an 1/8 inch thick. It's a stick tang that goes all the way down to the pommel here. You've got a brass pommel, brass finger guard, stacked leather with aluminum spacers in between. Feels really good in the hand. I have a large size hands and just about like everybody else on YouTube, and it fits my hand really nicely. It feels really good in my hand. I really like the blade profile. I think it's super cool. I like these fat blades. I got a William Collins, my Yakut knife from William Collins. Kind of like a one-off one he did. Has a fat blade like this. I'm working on getting Jason Smith from Hobo Forge. I kind of drew up a design very similar to this knife. More modern and a little sturdier, full tang and among other things. Hopefully going to be getting him to make that custom blade for me. I plan on calling it the Mountain Craft knife. So hopefully within the next few months I might get that from Jason. Might get him to make me that. For today, what we have is the Elmer Keith Skinner. So after Gil Hibben made this blade for Elmer Keith, then Guns and Ammo commissioned Fukuta, a Japanese knife maker, to make the commercial blade. Fukuta produced the blade for Guns and Ammo magazine. They did it overseas in Japan, and he was actually the first Japanese member of the American Knife Makers Guild. Fukuta was also an apprentice to Bob Lovelace. As far as I can tell, this is one of the first promotional models that Fukuta made. Now, everybody says these blades just aren't going to be as good as today's standards. Obviously, back in the day, they used to make these stick tangs. It wasn't a full tang blade. It would have been a lot more sturdy, more of a survival knife, but I like it. Overall, it's a little over 9.5 inches long. Got a 5-inch blade, so roughly a little over 4.5 inch handle. So that's enough talk. Let's see how this blade performs. This is some hardwood here. Makes some pretty good curls. Not bad for some hardwood. We find a little bit of something a little softer. I sharpened her up before we came out here. It was shaven sharp. Let me see if I still got a sharp edge after doing that feathering. Yeah, it's holding an edge all right. Little pot hanger notch. Well, there she is, folks. What do y'all think? Any of y'all remember this knife back in the day? John Hurley, you remember this blade? I know Steve Muir does. That he remembered this knife being in the Guns and Ammo magazine. Really cool. Elmer Keith was a pretty awesome guy. 44 Magnum is one of my favorites. Burgle too. But let me know what y'all think of this blade. Couldn't really find any videos on it on YouTube, so I figured I'd put one out. If I end up getting a custom blade that's kind of like this from Jason Smith at Hobo Forge, I'll be sure to make a video on it. And I appreciate y'all watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya! Here's the original sheath it came with. Some of them came with a sheath, some of them didn't. Some of them came with a nylon sheath later on, but very well made, sturdy leather sheath. Came with the blade.